Hey guys, happy Thursday. You should have turned your rough draft in yesterday, so we're just looking at a little bit of editing and revising type stuff today. So I wanted to talk a little bit about comma rules because several people have asked me throughout this year about commas and said they didn't really know how to use commas, weren't really sure ever where to put them. So I just thought I would cover a few of the rules. There are a lot of comma rules, so I'm not going to go over all of them in this video, but I'm going to go over a few that I've definitely noticed people missing. I'm going to leave out some of the ones that everybody always gets, like commas in a list. You guys are golden. You know where to put commas in a list, so I'm not going to talk about it today. The reason we have commas, they break up sentences and they help the reader understand what you're saying. That's the purpose of commas. They make your writing more clear, and they sort of break up sentences, which helps to make it more clear. Why is it helpful to learn comma rules? Especially for an argument, small mistakes can add up to impact your credibility, so they can negatively impact your credibility. If somebody has a lot of mistakes in their writing, people tend to think they don't know what they're talking about. Even if they really do know what they're talking about, they're just not very good at writing. At the same time, someone who's really good at writing can often convince people that they do know what they're talking about when they don't. So little mistakes, little comma mistakes can sometimes add up. One or two mistakes, most people are not going to notice. It's when it's like consistent, or it's every time, or it messes up understanding. If a reader or if your audience can't understand what you're trying to say because you don't have those commas, then that's going to mess up your credibility. The main reason that we have any grammar rules is to make things make sense, is to make writing make more sense and make it easier for writers to make sense. So you want to know the basics so that most of the time you can get your commas in the right spots. Also, if you know the comma rules, you'll feel more confident when you're writing, which will help you be a better writer. The more confident you feel while you're writing, usually the better the writing is. Not always, but often. If you're confident in your writing and you do the best that you can, it's usually not bad. It's when you hesitate and aren't sure that it tends to get iffy sometimes. So it'll help you, and you can sort of leave commas fine. You'll know those rules. You don't have to stress about comma rules. All right, let's talk about a few of them. So the first one I want to talk about is that commas can be used to separate two independent clauses that are attached with a coordinating conjunction. I am guessing that most of you do not remember what an independent clause is or what a coordinating conjunction is. An independent clause is just a clause that can stand on its own. So it's like a simple sentence or like a sentence. So if you can take that part and just say it and it makes sense by itself, that's an independent clause. A coordinating conjunction is a word that connects two of those. So words like for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. If you ever learned the acronym fanboys, those are coordinating conjunctions. So for example, if I wanted to say the school day was over and the kid couldn't wait to leave, I'm going to put a comma before and, because if I say the school day was over, that could be a sentence on its own. And if I say the kid couldn't wait to leave, that could be a sentence on its own. So I can say the school day was over and the kid couldn't wait to leave, and I'm going to want a comma there. If the part after the and was not a complete sentence, if it said the school day was over and done with, then I wouldn't put a comma before the and, because done with is not an independent clause. It's not a sentence on its own. It doesn't make sense by itself. So that's one place. That's one I've definitely noticed people missing. I even used to miss this one a bunch. Like I said, comma rules are hard. Lots of people don't know them. But it can be really helpful to know this for flow and for credibility and just for your own confidence. So that one, and it's pretty easy. Once you know it, this rule's really easy to follow. All right, next one You want to put a comma after an introductory clause, phrase, or word. So if I said, while watching Netflix, I got a phone call. That while watching Netflix is sort of separate from I got a phone call, right? I got a phone call could be a sentence on its own. So while watching Netflix is that introductory phrase. So I can put a comma after it. I want to put a comma after it. If I said I got a phone call while watching Netflix, I wouldn't put a comma anywhere. It's just if it's an introductory phrase. All right, next one. You can set off non-essential clauses or phrases in the middle of a sentence. So if you want to stick something in the middle of your sentence that's not absolutely essential to the meaning of your sentence, you can use commas to do that. So if I wanted to say the weekend, on the other hand, was exciting, I would put commas before and after on the other hand. If, on the other hand, I wanted to say the weekend that we went shopping was fun, I'm not going to put commas there. So just to be clear, no commas there. Because if I just say the weekend was fun, I could be talking about any weekend at all. It doesn't tell me what weekend I'm talking about. There are many weekends that could have been fun, but I'm specifically talking about the weekend that we went shopping. So that's essential information. I need that information in order to understand what weekend I'm talking about. Anytime you have the word that after a noun, you won't use commas. That's one I've seen a few times, so I thought I would mention it. And then the last one is anytime you think you should use one to avoid possible confusion. So there are times when a sentence is weird and you just need to put a comma in, because if there's no comma, it's going to be unclear. So for example, if I said, for Amber, Smith was the perfect boyfriend, I would need a comma there, because without the comma there, it would be very unclear what I was trying to say, because Amber Smith would sound like a name, all on like one person's name, and then it just wouldn't make any sense. It would seem like a weird phrase, and I think people would probably get what I was trying to say, but they might get tripped up, and so I would want to avoid that confusion. So I would just put a comma there. There are more comma rules, but these are kind of the ones that I see mistakes in most of the time. If you have a question about commas, I would be happy to answer it. Again, I don't want you to stress about commas. Commas are great. They're a helpful thing to know how to use, but they're not like the end-all be-all of writing. They're just a helpful tool that it's great to know the rules of, and it's going to help you, and you'll sound more credible and more confident if you use them following these rules. But if you make a mistake, it will be okay. I just kind of wanted to go over that a little bit and give you some info on commas. So today you should be working on editing and revising your writing. If you are making your speech or your documentary people, you definitely want to be like making your movie, so filming things, getting that together. Speech people, you probably want to be practicing your speech, saying it out loud a bunch, having other people hear it, see where you want to tweak some things. Getting any visuals you want to pull up with you. My letter and editorial people, you really want to be making sure your writing looks good, sounds good, that everything is as correct and not correct, but standard English as you can make it, making sure everything sounds the way you want it to sound, making sure it's ready for other people to see it. If you have questions, please let me know. I would be happy to help. All right, guys, have a